Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gruber Power Hour. My name is Claude Dixon, and this gentleman over here is my co-host, Lenny Hodges. But before we get started today, I wanted to say a thank you to Kazi. She's doing this thing on her own. Normally, there's 3 people back there, but she's a one-woman show. I almost slipped and said man. A one-woman show. So, Kazi, wish you the best of luck. Keep it going, okay?
Thanks.
All right, so... wow, what do we have going on today? The topic today is a day in the life of a field engineer. But before we get to that subject, I want to show you guys this image real quick because this just came out. Look at that. Thailand unveils its first AI-powered police cyborg on street patrol duty. That's scary. You know,
I just mentioned that on our last podcast that they've already, they're making stuff that's already lifelike. It's already in use. And then, lo and behold, here we go.
Yeah, you know the first movie I thought about when I saw that? When I saw that, I thought of The Terminator, The Rise of the Machines.
Yeah.
And it's like coming to play right before our eyes. But you know what? If I saw that thing on the street, I'd go right up to it and walk around it as fast as I could to see if I could mix it up. You know me. I'm mischievous. I'm going to go mess with that thing.
Hey, we still have RoboCop. No.
Yeah. And but yeah, if you could take that one down, Kazi, and put back the regular backdrop. But you know what? We have our own upgraded version of a cyborg. The cyborg is sitting right between us. It's silent. It's not saying a word, and we're getting ready to wake it up. This cyborg happens to be one of our senior field engineers, Eric Pettengill. Eric has been with us since 2011. He's the key guy that I go to in terms of troubleshooting in the field. Guy is amazing. He's well liked. The customers like him. Very punctual, very consistent. Comes to work. I can't believe I gotta actually add that one in there. Comes to work. But you know what? In our day, that's a good thing if you can get people to come to work on a consistent basis. No, but Eric is a mainstay, and he's been very, very instrumental in GPS's success. So Eric, if you could take off. There he is. Voila.
Hey guys.
Yeah, voila. Well, he's stripping out of all of his arc flash gear.
This is what keeps us alive out in the field.
Yeah, what the heck were you wearing? Why don't you tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, you bet. This thing is it's an arc flash suit, and basically when we are going to work on our flipping breakers, we're going to flip breakers that are high amperage and has the ability to just shoot arcs everywhere if it malfunctions. This will keep us safe. I mean, it's got to have the correct rating, so you got to make sure that if you got a 1,000 amp breaker, this probably won't protect you. You got to get a different. It's a cal rating. And the higher the cal, the better it's going to be. But for the most part, this will protect you, keep you from getting burned or molten metal coming at you. It's FR rated, and
But you're not actually wearing that on every scope of work. So what specific scope of work are you actually wearing that suit?
We've got a customer right now. I won't say their name, but we got a customer right now. They have a megawatt. UPS. That's 1 million watts of power.
Okay.
And they have a lot of breakers. I am not going to be flipping breakers on 1 million watts of power with just my hands. If anything, I would grab something like this. And to properly use these guys is you got to put a liner on. So then you get your liner, then you put your gloves over the liner, and then on top of that, you got to get a pair of leather gloves and put over that. That way your hands are totally protected as well.
So if you're one of those field engineers that likes to pick their nose, you better get that done before you go into and work on a megawatt unit, because you're not going to be able to stick your finger in your nose with all that stuff in there. Just saying. Okay,
right.
So before we get into a day in the life of a field engineer, of course we're going to do a couple Did You Knows. So the first question I have for our audience is, which country has the most time zones? Which country has the most time zones? That's one. The second did you know or question is, what part of the country has the most nuclear power apparatus, has the biggest nuclear power apparatus? Which section of the country? Okay, so I hope you guys got both of those, and we'll wait and see. Lenny, you're going to have to help me out with reading because that's like very small. I can't read the comments.
Okay.
So if you can read what those are, I'd appreciate it.
First one up, Loretta Bowman says hello.
Hello, Loretta.
Hello. Tech Titan Troll, what's with the alien suit?
Well, we just found out.
Grant Mobile, great looking crystals on the desk today. Is that Colombian quartz?
Yes, it is. That's from Santander, Colombia, Grant. And that's 130 million years old. It's sitting on calcite. That's what the dark mineral is there. 130 million years old. It's from the period, the Cretaceous period. For those of you who understand geological time frames. But yeah, Santander, Colombia, that's where that was mined. The other piece there is it's a fossil, considered a fossil. It's a piece of petrified wood from northeastern Arizona. A piece of wood's about 225 million years old from the Triassic period. All of us know when you hear Triassic or Jurassic, it was the period during the dinosaurs. So this was an actual live tree in a tropical forest when the dinosaurs were alive. And of course, you know, it's been agatized in the ground, covered up. Silicate, you know, went into the cells of the wood and turned it into stone. But it's a fabulous piece of wood, very amazing piece of wood. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I can't read it. What's next up there? Loretta Ballman, what does that say?
She says the West, as far as your nuclear power.
All right. I'll hold on that. We'll get a few more responses.
Under the Radars is asking, what is the background image from?
Okay, that background image, I believe that is M1. M stands for Messier. He is a French astronomer. Of course, he's deceased now, but he came up with those names. That is the Crab Nebula that you're seeing behind me.
I was just going to say Crab
Nebula. Out there in deep space. Okay. What is it? Okay, I can't read that next one right there.
Kira Scheffler says America for both answers, I guess for the time zones.
Okay. Let's go to the first one. Countries with the most time zones. So if you could put that up, Kazi, that slide I have right here. So you're going to be shocked. Can you get that up there, Kazi?
And this includes their territory.
There it is. So you got France. France has 12 time zones.
Right.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to add into this. This includes their territories also that belong to the countries. It's not the country itself that actually, because we know in the United States, we don't have 11 time zones, but we do have territories like Guam, Puerto Rico.
Great point.
Other places like that. So that actually adds into the time zones, not just the physical location of the individual country.
I was thinking China, because China's just so vast.
Yeah, and China's not even on that list, is it?
Hey, for once, they're not on the list.
Right?
Yeah, for once. So you got the top three: France, Russia, USA. So, but I was pretty shocked when I saw France with 12 time zones. That's, you know, but to your point, it kind of like makes more sense now. All right, so the second question was nuclear power. Let's put that up real quick. So, that's one I'm not going to talk about. There you go. Look at that right there. It's all concentrated in the southeast and the northeast. Hardly anything, well, really virtually nothing in the west. And if you look at the color coding there, the turquoise, I believe that is a power plant that's going to be decommissioned, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And the yellow is recently retired. And then you got the big Palo Verde plant. So if you look at size, it appears that the Palo Verde plant off of I-10 is the largest nuclear facility in terms of megawatts. That's pretty amazing. We actually have done some work out there. That's one of our customers. And there you go. So, Lenny, you really got to help me out with the questions because I can't really see them. Okay.
So, Tech Titan Troll says, give me a break on the millions and billions of years.
I know. I know.
Grant Mobile says France.
Great job. Ding, ding, ding.
And under the radar is what is it mainly in the southeast and not much in the west?
Okay. Yeah.
But here's one for you. Just kind of a side note on the time zone. How many time zones are in Arizona?
None.
There's two.
No, two.
There's two. The Navajo Reservation is the only part of the state of Arizona that actually does the daylight savings time.
Yeah.
Yep, a lot of people don't know that.
All right, so let's get to the topic. A day in the life of a field engineer. Eric, I just want to just open it up with, you've been doing this a long time,
Most of my adult life.
Yeah, you're very experienced, so I guess just start like with an opening on just like how you see your job, what got you kind of like into it, and what kind of like have you learned from it?
Well, I actually wanted to be the guy that worked at Hollywood. I wanted to be the guy that built the Star Wars stuff, the Star Trek stuff. The little stuff with the blinky lights on it that has no use for it, but it's cool. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do that stuff, but I got hired right out of college. I went to DeVry, and I got into the UPS, and I was like, wow, these things are awesome. There's just so many different functions. I mean, everyone thinks there's just one function to a UPS. Oh, no. There's so much to these UPSs, and it's a challenge. I love the challenge. Mm-hmm. I love what I can learn from these things. I mean,
now is it a challenge because of the niche that we're in? Gruber is in. We provide service on all UPSs, all brands, all models, no matter what the age. So is the challenge coming more from the fact that you see a different UPS and you kind of like have to figure it out, recalibrate your mind, that kind of thing?
Exactly, because if I was a factory worker, I'm just going to learn whatever that part, whatever it is, APC, Liebherr, MGE, I'm just going to learn that. I learn all of them. And I even go to as far as learning lighting inverters and rectifiers. And it's just awesome. If you really, this may sound kind of corny, but you know what? These UPSs, they talk to you. Mm-hmm. I'll be walking down the hallway like at a hospital, and I'll be like, is there a UPS behind that door? It goes, well, yeah. How do you know? And I can hear it. Mm-hmm. You can, if you listen long enough, you can actually hear the IGBTs, and they're humming at you. And you can hear when they go, yeah. Makes kind of a weird noise, and it's like, oh, there seems to be a problem with that. What's going to happen in the future? If you listen to them, they talk to you. It's I don't know. It's like almost a relationship I have with them. They tell me what's wrong or what's going to be wrong, and it's like, I don't know. It's
kind of like your wife, or.
That's not what I hear from them.
Right? But they always leave you guessing.
Yeah. So let's break it down a little bit more. So you do sleep at night, right?
I got to sleep with one eye open, especially when I'm on call.
Because that's in your line of work, that's a kind of like a legitimate question. So walk us through. You get up in the morning. It's Monday. What's the first thing you do in terms of work?
Well, if I'm on call, I cannot answer the phone. Hello. This is Gruber Power.
That sounds like him when he calls in. But anyway,
I can't, because then the customer's like, "Oh, did you just wake up and now you're going to help me with a UPS?" You got to answer that phone. Good morning. This is Gruber Power. How may I help you? You got to do that right from a dead sleep. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I get up first thing. I got my phone, and it's like, okay, the night before I looked at, okay, this job is so many miles away. It's going to take me this long to get there. I got my phone programmed where if there's a traffic, it'll alert me. If there's if it's a long distance, I got to go alert me so I can leave the house a little bit earlier if I need to, but I have to get up early enough to make it to my job or any delays. Mm-hmm. So, and then after that, the rest of the day, the coordinator has set up for me, and I just follow what they set up for me.
So what are some of the things that you encounter on your way to the job?
Oh, traffic.
Yeah, you just gave me an example before we started this podcast, this whole prune incident. that I guess you asked me.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I was at the mine, and to keep the dust down at the mine, they have this water truck. It has water in it, and they have prune juice in it because it's sticky, mixed in with a little bit of oil. And they put this down on the road. I just happened to get right behind this truck. I mean, for those that are here, can actually go look at the truck and feel it. You can feel that it's stuck on there. You can't take it through a car wash. This has to be hand washed with hot water.
Right.
That's the only way to get that off.
And we're talking about a giant F-150.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you pulling anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's stuff we encounter. What do you do when you see something going down the road and the tire's 12 feet tall? And then you got a big truck on top of that, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Eric is one of the field engineers that we have that basically travels all over the country. The guy loves to travel, and I'm sure he'll speak to that a little bit later. But let's talk about that for a second. What are some of the things that you, from a weather standpoint, you getting to a job, having to keep appointments, keeping the customers happy, what are some of the stumbling blocks that you've encountered in your experience getting to a job?
I would have to say different time zones. A lot of times you get used to the 110 degree heat here, and it's like you go somewhere else and it's like 50 degrees or cold or something like that. So you really got to pay attention to wherever you're traveling to. Is it going to be rainy? And there's just so much you got to keep track of it. It's like you almost need a checklist. Okay, am I going here? I'm going there. It's if you're really not used to it, you can get yourself in trouble real quick and wind up late, and then the customer's calling, "Where's this guy at?"
How many delays do you have when you get phone calls just out of the blue? From other field engineers, from account managers or customers.
Because I love what I do, I actually give out my business cards to customers. I will actually put them on the UPS. Call me directly. Here it is. Just call me. I'll help you out with it. But I will always answer my phone. The only time I don't answer the phone is if I'm standing there talking to a customer. I'm not going to be that rude and say, hold on. Let me, I'll get back with that person. But, yeah, that's pretty much it there.
Question for you. You know, if, we have some younger guys that are just starting out, they're in their first, second, maybe third year. You've been doing this for, I can say, decades. Okay. What would be a few things that you would tell them just in terms of wisdom, starting out in the craft?
When I trained people on the UPSs, when it comes to UPSs, what I do is learn the flow of power. You need to know when you look in that UPS where that flow of power is. When you're looking at a maintenance bypass, you need to learn that flow of power. I've seen UPSs with 3 bypasses on it. And if you don't know where all the power is going, you can get yourself in trouble real quick, and that data center will go down and possibly even damage the UPS.
Now, given the fact that we're a multi-vendor, service provider, how much research, what kind of research are you doing, like, before specific types of work, or do you just know it all?
Oh, I wish
you know where I'm going with that one. So
I wish I knew it all. Even the guys that I have trained, I've learned from them. I can't be in every situation. I can't learn everything, and they learn stuff that I haven't seen before. And it's all situational. Where they've been, what they've been doing, and I take it wherever I can. And I think it's awesome the way I can just learn from them as well.
And with the situational, I know being in being in depot, we troubleshoot, a little bit further than you guys can in the field because, we have that capability to actually have everything powered down.
Right.
So what are the limitations or limfacts that you guys have in the field as far as what you're able to do, what you're not able to do, and do you have to rely on other resources and other people that you have to call in the field?
I think it went out. Basically, it's all up to the customer. Mm-hmm. It's whatever they want to do because it's their data center, it's their business. If they go down for whatever reason, like a big airline company, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars lost in revenue because they went down for a minute. Just because they went down, it's going to take them, who knows, 30 minutes to get their servers back up and running and online. I don't know.
Eric, pardon me for interrupting you, but just for the sake of the audience, when you make the statement, when they go down, just break that into layman's terms.
Critical load.
Mm-hmm.
Critical load is anything that cannot be shut off. Give you an example. Got a big storm raging outside. Power lines are going down, like a hurricane's going, and then power goes out. Do you expect to call 911 during that? Yeah. You got to call 911 still. If they go down, you can't get help. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. And that's why a lot of customers won't let us shut down these UPSs, It's that critical. It's life and death we're talking about.
Or even let you put it in the bypass to test it.
I was about to say, I know some customers nowadays are like, don't touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch it at all. Just do the minimum that you need to do and then leave, Mm-hmm.
I know they don't even, a lot of times they don't even like me to ask the question, but it's like, I'm going to ask you.
Right.
It really should be exercised. You really should be exercising because a lot of them don't realize those breakers, there's a little bit of oil on those breakers. And if you just never touch it for years, that oil, it's just going to build up and now you got a sticky breaker. Mm-hmm. And we see that, I think on those Symetra LXs, that, what do you call that board right there where the breakers are behind
it's the IO tray, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't operate those things, they get sticky. Mm-hmm. And then you get that bypass fault.
Yeah.
That's how important it is.
Now dealing with the customers, how do you handle a customer who
hovers?
Yeah. Okay. Hover's a good one, but it's just I say difficult to deal with. I remember my very first time when I went out in the field to do PMs for Claude. Mm-hmm. Eric trained me. Yeah, you sent me out in the field, and then said, nah, you're not good enough for it. No, no, but I remember we went to a plant out here, out in Mesa near the airport, and the customer was kind of a hover. The customer was like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do this. And that was my first reaction was like, we're here to help you, but, how do you kind of... mind your P's and Q's.
It's tough. First thing I do is listen. I want to make sure I understand exactly what their issue is, where their problem lies, and make sure I got everything I need mm-hmm. to safely work on this unit. A lot of times, I remember a customer, they were hovering, and we were trying to figure this UPS out, Actually, I was. Mm-hmm. And because they had PhD scientists in electrical engineering at this building, he's like, well, let me get some of my people. Next thing I know, they got a whole crowd and they're all looking in there. And I'm thinking, I even had one guy literally standing on top of the UPS looking down in there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if he falls through there, he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah. See, and back on the topic real quick, just the day in the life of a field engineer, those things are distractions.
Yes.
So here you are working on 208 or 480, and you have these people, one guy's on top of the machine looking down, and you're probably asking you questions while you're trying to focus on what it is you're doing. So I'm sure that's a stressor for you.
Well, I figured out one thing that seems to work, and I feel it's tactful. It's not, can you please leave and let me work? That's just rude. I always tell a customer, can you give me a minute here to think, ponder, and pray about this? And every single time, they're like, okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Every single time, I love it, And that's what I do. And that customer that had the person on top, I told them that. 20 minutes later, I'm done, walking out the door. Figured it out.
Remember, engineers never do maintenance.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're one of the few engineers I think that we've employed here that works 200 hours a week. So, just teasing you. But I do want to hit on quality of life, because it's just not about what you do here for Gruber Power Service. You also have a life. So how does your job that you love, affect the quality of your life?
When you're out of town, it can be tough, because all the chores you have around your house, like you need to mow the lawn, or you need to do this, or you got stuff to do around the house, you can't do it. You leave if you have kids, mine are all grown up, but if you have kids or you're married, you got to say bye to them for a week. Most of these jobs you're gone for a whole entire week. So it can be difficult. Mine are grown up, so it's just me and the wife. And I think for us it works out pretty good, because that way she can go and do her thing, I can go do my thing, and I love to travel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's hit some of these. I want to get back on that. I'm not done with that part. But let's hit some of these questions. Lenny, can you help me?
Yeah, for under the radar, for the guy in the middle, what's your best case scenario on a customer site, and what's your worst case scenario? Well, I think we just heard worst case as far as someone looking down into it.
Yeah. What's your best case?
What's it?
The best case, I like it when the customer just, here's the UPS, you do what you do. And trust us that, when I go to a customer, that UPS is mine. I'm going to treat it as if it's my UPS, and this is my business, and I don't want this thing to go down. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure the batteries are good, to make sure it is functioning all the way up to OEM specifications or even better. I'm going to do the best job I can for them, and them leaving me alone is the best thing.
Okay, now you hit on a word there that I just want to elaborate on. He said alone. So if you understand where these guys work, they work in basements, they work, deep down. You think of Las Vegas, if you've been down in some of those basements, how often are you alone when you're working? If you gave me a percentage of the time. 80% of the time, this guy is working alone on electronic equipment. That right there should kind of like make your spine tingle a little bit. And it should also tell you how good these guys are to be able to do that and, stay in control, follow proper safety procedures, have the proper PPE, because if something happens to them down there, it's probably going to be a little bit of a delay before someone says, hey, we haven't heard from that technician for a while. What's going on? Let's go check on them.
I always tell the customer that too. I usually say, you can come by in about an hour. If you haven't heard from me in an hour, come check. But for the most part, we only operate these UPSs if it's safe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's the way I just roll.
All right, what's the next question, Lenny, up there?
Next one is from Gruber Motor Company. It says work-life balance is very important.
Okay, Cassie, are there any more? Is that it?
I'm sorry?
Are there any more questions up there? Do you need to scroll, or is that it?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, there you go, right there. There's one right there, Tech Titan Troll. What does that say?
But to leave, it's getting cut off, but to leave you alone with $1,000 units can seem off at times. I don't agree with hovering, but I wouldn't leave you alone.
Okay. Yeah, you're alone quite a bit. You just told us that. But back on the quality of life thing. So you hit us with the cons. Okay, so what are the pros in your job in terms of moving around the country? What else are you able to do?
What I do, and this is just me, the philosophy I live by, because I want to have a good quality of life as well, is every job that I go on, no matter where I'm going, there's always going to be time for a mini vacation. At 5 o'clock or when the last PM is done, I will go find something in the area to see, because I may not get another chance to do that. So, and I like doing that. In fact, I like it so much, I've started to take out photography. And I play with my mom. I text her a picture and say, "Where's Waldo at today?" Try to, so she can figure out where I'm at, So it's fun. I enjoy it.
That's really good. Really good.
Yeah, you definitely have to have that balance. Definitely have to have that balance. 'Cause if not, like we talked about last week, having too much on your plate, not being able to handle it, it can drive someone a little bit towards the edge, a little bit,
Right. The one thing I wanted to bring up was, I don't remember where it was, but when it comes to the customer, I wanted to talk about, you talked about drop loads, Claude. One thing I feel is really important is, let's say you're the customer, and for whatever reason, a power company is working on some power outside, and they messed up and arced something outside, and it took your UPS down. You have now got, let's say, 500 telemarketers sitting there twiddling their thumbs that you're paying for. Your data center goes down. As a customer, you're going to freak out. You'll be like, oh my goodness. And the biggest mistake they make is they start flipping breakers, thinking something, they got to flip a breaker. The UPS went down, it trips its breakers automatically. It just trips them open. And sure, you do have to close, when the power comes back, you may have to reset a breaker, but they don't ask. They just like, oh my goodness, they're freaking out. And they close one. Oh, sorry, I just backfed the UPS and blew it up. But the one thing I like about our company, make the phone call. In 30 seconds, you're going to be talking to a live field service engineer with experience telling you what breaker to close.
Right. And this is anyone. That's a great point Eric brings up. Our technical assistance line, that is no cost to anyone that wants to call into that number. I don't have the number here with me, but it's a 1-800 number.
658?
Yeah, 658.
5883.
Save the whole number?
1-800-658-5883.
Yes. So I want to go there for a second with you two. Okay, so here's a scenario. One of the frustrations that I hear about from our group and others is when you guys are deployed to a job and you're standing in front of a UPS doing a PM, doing a battery job, whatever it might be, you get a phone call.
Oh, yeah.
You get a phone call, and this phone call is a tech call. Eric, can you take this tech call? Who do I sound like? Michael Ledesma, right? Eric.
Yeah. And
he just wants to unload the tech call. Michael, I'm telling the truth if you're watching. He just wants to unload that thing because Michael got like probably 10 other things he's working on. It's like, I got to get this tech call. So I'm going to call Eric. So Eric accepts the call, and he's doing a battery job or he's doing a PM, and now he's talking to the customer about a Symmetra PX.
As the other one's sitting there looking at me going, really?
Yes. Yes. So think about that dilemma that he's in right there. So, okay, Eric says blah, 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 blah to the customer. I think you need a power module. So that's what goes back to Michael. We ship a power module. We get the old one back. Now, the old one goes to this gentleman over here. He puts it in his test bay, and within 1 minute, why did I get this power module? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So you guys, let's talk about that scenario. Help me understand how that might happen.
Not even close to the same environmental conditions.
And that's what I talked about earlier as far as we're able to look at everything while everything's powered off. We have no customer or load or anything we got to worry about. So we're able to troubleshoot it thoroughly and more methodically than they can in the field. Now, they can troubleshoot it more methodically in the field, but there's limitation factors or lim facts that they have because they can't drop the load for the customer because they're on a time crunch, or they're already dealing with another customer and they're on a tech call too. You know,
Now-
so
now
there's a
I-
lot of variations and factors to that.
Right now, I know it's not something that happens every day.
No, it doesn't.
But since it does happen, have we put anything like in place with the field engineering team? Hey, look, if you, especially with those modular units, the LX and the PX, we
Right.
service a lot of those.
A lot of things is dealing with tech tips, which
Okay.
Eric has, a plethora of, as far as provided all the FEs. I have it for the depot too. If we find something in the depot that we're able to, hey, this is what you should look at, and you're able to do it without dropping the load or anything like that, we'll put the tech tip out for it and say, this is what we found in the depot, because it's something that we may have learned from APC, we may have learned just because we got time to fiddle with it sometimes. We're able to determine, this is what the root cause is, and
Yeah.
then we'll give a tech tip and then we'll send it out to all the FEs saying, hey, new tech tip. This is something to look for. Put it in your toolkit and go forward.
Here's something that to keep in mind, and I put this in super layman terms so everybody can understand it. Is let's use a garden hose analogy, okay? You got a garden hose and you've got the water. And the water is the current going into the UPS, to power the UPS, to power your equipment. Now there's got to be pressure pushing that water through, right? And that's the voltage. That voltage is pushing that water, or the pressure is pushing the water through there, which is the current. And that's how you get your the basic lame in terms of being able to get your current and understanding the voltage. Now, let's say the UPS had an issue at, let's say, 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, what's going on at 7 o'clock in the morning? Well, there's somebody's got there's about 1,000 hair dryers on. Everyone's getting ready. Curling irons are on. Everybody's using power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your voltage is going to sag from the power company. Now they can adjust it, but it still sags, and there's going to be like a little bit of noise in there as it sags, and then all of a sudden everyone's gone to work. Power's going back up. Well, now it's gone up high, and now you're still going to get a little bit of noise in there, and now everybody's at work, and they've adjusted it. That's probably what we're seeing on these power modules. It could be just noise that's coming in, and this power module is close to going out, but not quite. Mm-hmm. And when Lenny gets it, well, it operates fine, but who knows? It might be close to the point where it's actually going to get ready to fail anyways. So it's good to replace it.
Yeah, the point of it was just understanding that these guys are taking calls, when they're working on high voltage, medium voltage equipment. And, we've been back and forth. That internally we go back and forth on that all the time. Sometimes, you were taking them for a while because we were getting...
I still am.
Yeah, we were getting so many that it's like, hey, you know what? Let's cut this off from the field engineering group for a little while. Or, our field engineering team was a little smaller, so they were getting them faster, that kind of thing. Hey, Loretta, if you're still on, tell me on average how many tech calls we get on a daily basis. The number that's coming to my mind is like 7 or 8 that we're sending out to the field on a daily basis. I may be wrong. I know you're tracking it and looking at it. So if you're still on, give me that number. Okay. Eric, so what else? Is there anything else you want to talk through or communicate about your life in terms of field engineering?
I'm glad you asked, Claude. There is. I love what I do. I absolutely love it. You know what? I love it so much that I want to share what I know. I've got 20 plus years of working on these things, and I want to share it. When I get tech calls, I try to turn it in to a video, because, by the way, you are talking to the Dr. UPS,
No.
You're going to hear from Steve Worthington now.
Yeah, right. You open Pandora's box on that one.
Steve's going to come find you now.
But I started my own YouTube channel called Dr. UPS. Spell it out, Dr. UPS. And basically, I'm trying to educate everybody on how to operate their UPS safely. I mean, there's things that you're going to have to do with your UPS just to know. I mean, just don't call us up and say, oh, it's not working. Go to my website, and I show you, here's what you got to do, this, this, and this. Fault and diagnostics. Oh, look, power module L1. Oh, wow. Look, it's labeled right here on the UPS, L1. You just diagnose the problem yourself without having to call anybody. And most of the time, it's just pulling it out and reseating it. You know, the connections get a little corroded over time. And just pulling it out, reseating it. But, yeah.
Yeah, you've showed me some of your videos. You actually do a really good job with that stuff.
I'm
really
still
good.
new at the photography and getting the cameras and everything. I mean, it's not my forte, but I'm trying. I'm just a one-man band, and I just want to share with what I know.
See, that's a good thing, because some people will actually hoard information just for job security.
Yeah.
You know, but that's like me. I'll tell you anything you need to know. You want to hear about it, I'll tell.
I mean,
you know?
Information not shared is useless to everybody.
is.
Yeah. And I think that's one major shift that GPS has made, I would say, over the past 5 or 6 years, is the ability for people to share information, especially our senior people.
Yeah.
You know, and they have their reasons, and a lot of their reasons were legit as to why they were holding on to, you know.
You keep your cards close to your vest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we've made a lot of progress in opening up those people, opening up those vessels to share, and you can see it just in our overall performance that we're better as a result of that. But Eric, I want to thank you for coming on.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Real
I enjoy
quick.
it.
Yeah.
I actually did. We have a couple of slides. I did a lighter side today, just a little bit of lightheartedness. You know, this is for our account managers and our customers. This is what I wanted. The one to the right there. You talk about the do not turn off breakers. They do not work properly. I mean, you mentioned about somebody going in or messing with the breakers, you know, maybe have a sign like this up.
You know, I have seen people pull the fuses out, and I've seen them put copper bus bars in there, and I'm like, I don't think it was supposed to be like that.
And then, of course, your lockout, tag out, you know, as far as like a boss, and do not use a defibrillator.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Hey, a few more comments came in from JC. What are your thoughts on using AI systems to help troubleshoot
Use it.
EPSs?
I've seen them. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
There are companies that actually make test equipment specifically. I'm not sure if this went out or not. Specifically, that tries to help us troubleshoot some of the ups that we work with. You know, it's not cheap, I tell you that, but there are some programs out there that'll actually help with diagnostics and everything, so you're not banging your head completely on the wall.
All right, and then we got 3 comments here from Loretta. Yes, that's probably right. She's referring back to the tech calls. It looks like we do get 7 to 8 tech calls on average a day, and she also wrote that she has learned a lot from Eric. Cool. Another one from Gruber Motor Company. GMC has an in-house AI tool, GPT. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so before we get off, just wanted to hit you up with a couple of future things going on. So next week's podcast is going to be a day in the life of an account manager. So we're going to have 2 gentlemen come on that work here. Their voices, these guys should be singing in a choir. I mean, they're just... When I hear these guys talk, it's like, man, that sounds great. I can't imagine these guys bellowing out tunes. And that's Charles Taylor. I think, you know, we know who Charles is. And
Good guy.
Dwayne Moore. We're going to have both those gentlemen next week on the show, A Day in the Life of an Account Manager. The show after that, this area is near and dear to my heart because I love minerals. And if you're watching, if you have eyes and you're listening, you have ears and eyes, you're watching and listening, this subject is coming up a lot, and it's called rare earths. So we're going to do a podcast on the conquest for rare earths. Next 2 shows coming up. Okay? Lenny, anything you want to close us out with?
No, laces out.
What?
Oh, you've never seen Ace Ventura?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You being a
Laces
Miami
Out.
Dolphins fan, you don't know about Laces Out and Ray
no.
Finkel? Okay.
Yep,
I'll
I
get a
remember.
video clip out to you.
Okay. Well, that does it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.